In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Welcome to America in Black and White, Season 3, Episode 154. I'm honored to bring you today's conversation, Aaron, on this November 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with a man whose very name has become synonymous with passion, purpose, and transformation. Darrell Andrews, widely known as America's Passion Coach, is a nationally celebrated speaker, author, and transformational leader. As president and chief passion officer um, and founder of Self Care Empowered, Coach D has spent more than 2 decades inspiring organizations and individuals across the globe. His dynamic keynotes, training sessions, and coaching programs focus on self care that leads to wellness, post pandemic leadership, teamwork, and core values integration, empowering people to thrive both personally and professionally. Coach D's impact extends far beyond the stage. A respected voice in workforce development, he has dedicated much of his career to uplifting underprivileged youth and adult job seekers through strategic partnerships with workforce boards, government agencies, educational institutions, and nonprofits. He has helped thousands uncover their gifts, build employability skills, and achieve sustainable career success. His expertise has also shaped corporate training and organizational consulting with major companies like Walmart, Verizon, and First Data turning to him for guidance. And as the author of influential works such as Post Pandemic Leadership, The Key to Recruitment and Retention, and the Self Care Movement, Coach D continues to challenge us to lead with authenticity, wellness, and values at the core. With over 1,000 keynote addresses delivered, countless appearances on television, radio, and podcasts, and a lifelong mission to inspire transformation, Darrell Andrews is more than a coach. He is a movement. And beyond all of this, he is a proud husband of 31 years and a devoted father to four remarkable children, living proof of the values he teaches and embodies. Today, we welcome Coach D to America in Black and White. Prepare to be inspired, challenged, and uplifted by the passion and purpose of America's Passion Coach. This is a conversation you don't want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, Darrell Andrews.
Man, I tell you something. That's probably one of the best introductions I ever had. Thank you for that.
All right, definitely appreciate that.
Yeah,
I got a problem with my board here. Give me 1 second.
it's okay, man. Take your time.
Okay, there we go.
All
Um,
right.
it's good to have you here.
Yes, sir.
Are there
Mhm.
is there anything you'd like to say before we get started, get into the show?
You know what, man? I think the thing I would want to start by saying is thank you for what you're doing. I realize as people, the strength of our communities, the strength of our businesses, and the strength of our lives is collective effort. It's not one individual dominating an entire universe. It's multiple people using their gifts, talents, and abilities to impact. So kudos to you for, I guess, the season 3, 154 of these shows. that shows your commitment to doing your part, which is critical to all of us being able to do our part. Because we're nothing but a collective puzzle, man, trying to come together to be able to impact our communities and beyond. So thank you for your work, man. And I'm honored to be here.
Well,
I'm honored to be here.
I thank you for that.
Mhm.
Let's start with your workforce development and community impact.
Yes.
Can you tell us what first drew you to the field of workforce development?
I love I love telling this story. um, I was born and raised in the city of Syracuse, New York. That's my hometown. My mom was raised by a single mom. For whatever reason, my mom and dad separated when I was a baby. I'm not here to, go into that story to any detail, but it left my mom as a single mom. And so we lived in a place called the Pioneer Homes Projects in Syracuse, New York, which was to this day, I think, the oldest project ever in the United States of America. And she had an eighth grade education, and so did the majority of the people in my family. Most folks dropped out in the eighth grade, but something happened way back then that changed our life forever, Charles. And that is there was this workforce development program that came into our community and started telling people, hey, we can help you advance your life, go back to school, get your degrees and diplomas, and start getting on the path to self-sufficiency. Well, most of the folks didn't take it seriously. My mom did. And she got engaged with a workforce development program that taught her skills around being an administrative assistant and secretarial skills and things like that. But most importantly, they helped her go back and get her GED. So she was the first person in my family to graduate, which was exciting. And I got to throw a little humor in here, man. I jokingly tell people that my mama she was the class valedictorian, and she gave her class valedictorian speech in a full length leather suit, Charles, full length. And as a little boy, I looked up her on stage and said, "Mama, girl, you sure look hot up there." She said, "I know, baby." I said, "No, not hot like that. It's June, and you got a leather suit on." She looked at me. And this is what she said, man. She said, boy, and she was so prophetic. She said, boy, one day you're going to use that mouth to make a difference. She used to always tell me that. And look at me today. That's what she'd always say. She didn't say, boy, shut up. She said, boy, you're going to use that mouth to make a difference.
Yes.
And guess what? Look at those words. Words have power.
Yes,
And
sir.
so from there, they helped her with job search, and she landed a job with a company by the name of Allegheny Airlines, which became US Air Incorporated, which now is American Airlines. And my friend, we went from abject poverty in the city of Syracuse, New York, sometimes New York, not knowing where our next meals are coming from, to traveling all over the United States of America for free. Because when your parent works for the airlines, you don't pay a dime.
Right.
That was the beginning of my journey. I personally experienced the power of workforce development. And I said, you know what? After I graduated from college and I did a stint with corporate, I want to go back and give back to people what was given to me. And that was when you gain meaningful employment, when you get education, your world changes. It literally does. And so now we're on fire to help youth and adults and people all over the United States. We had programs in Delaware and Pennsylvania, but now as a consultant, I work with groups all over the country to help create that same outcome for as many people as we can.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
That's truly a powerful story. I mean,
Yeah.
so with your mother doing that, what was that impact for you?
Well, what it did for me uh,
I'm
is
sorry.
that's okay. We good now? Think I'm good?
Yes.
Okay. So what it did for me was it painted a picture of the possibilities. And I want everybody out there to hear this because it's important, especially we parents that are out there. All we're doing is painting a picture for our children of the possibilities. And we have the opportunity to decide what that picture is going to look like. And so when my mom did that, it showed me a couple of things. One, that work can change your life, and two, education can change your life. And so I decided to take a step further. I went to college, and there's a whole story behind that entitled Five Garbage Bags in a Dream and Chicken Soup for the African American Soul. That's a whole nother story. But as a result of that, I became the first person in my family to graduate from college.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And my brother graduated. Now I'm a father with four children. Two are college graduates. One's an honor student at the University of Central Florida, and one's an honor student in ninth grade. This is now normal for us. So that what she did was normalize the process of progressing a family through education and work, which is now instilled in my heart, in my mind, and my soul. And I'm blessed to marry a beautiful woman who thinks the same way. And so now we're creating something in our family that was built on that foundation.
oh wow.
Mhm.
So, how do you define purpose-driven clear career coaching?
You know what? I really believe this with all my heart, man. I believe that we were all born with something inside of us to contribute. The greatest challenge is, as my mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe would say, the greatest challenge is identifying it. You know what I mean? And identifying what gift do I have inside of me that I can use to impact not necessarily the entire world, but the world in which I live. You know what I mean? Now, some people will have worldwide impact, truly, but some people can impact their community or impact their school or impact, I always say, I like to say it like this: their sphere of influence. So, purpose, as my mentor would define it, is like, and when you talk about passion, is the original tension of a thing. Now, I joked a few moments ago about my mom saying, "Boy, one day you're gonna use that mouth to make a difference." My gift is to empower people to see in themselves the tremendous potential they possess and use that potential to go out and make a difference in their space. It could be cooking, it could be cleaning, it could be working for someone and helping them build out what they're doing. It doesn't always have to be these huge things that we think about. But what's that gift? So when I look about passion and purpose careers, I'm not saying that we're gonna go off on some flighty dream. I'm saying we're gonna go after what we're naturally wired to do.
Right.
I'll say this, I would have never imagined my mom saying that all those years ago would have led me to standing on stages like Walmart Corporation, flying me down to speak to all 8,000 of their senior leaders worldwide on one of their five core values. And so when I was on that stage and they actually picked me up in a private jet, they kind of messed me up with that one because I'm like, okay, this is now going to become the norm. You do that one time, now you want to do it all the time, But as I was sitting there, I said, my goodness, man, it was purpose that made this happen. When they picked me up and took me to this beautiful facility with 2,000 of their people and 6,000 worldwide, and I'm standing on that stage, I said, at the time, they were the number one company in the world. So that's purpose. It wasn't my degree that took me there. It was the gift that's inside of me to open up that door. The degree helped, but it was the purpose. So that's what I mean by purpose. What is that, when you talk about passion, what can you wake up in the morning to and say, I want to do this. This is the thing I want to do. And I'm wired to do it. It's like breathing to me. It's easy. So I hope that brings some clarity to the question.
Yes, sir. What are the biggest barriers facing underprivileged job seekers today?
That's a good question. And I want to tread lightly because I want us to understand something. I, you know, I want to say that obviously there's barriers because there's things that people have not been exposed to, which kind of keeps us in that position of underprivileged. Because once my mother was exposed to workforce development, she changed. We were underprivileged, but once she got that information, but she also decided to do something with that information. Like there's a lot of opportunities out here. But my friend, if people don't look for these opportunities and take advantage of these opportunities, they're accepting their current situation. And so what I would say the biggest barrier is, and this is going to be maybe counter to what a lot of people say, is besides the barriers of societal norms that we know of, is mindset. It's the way we think. My mother used to sit my brother and I down in that little 400 square foot apartment we lived in the projects, and say that we're not going to stay here forever. One day we're gonna be out of here. We're gonna get out of here. So she envisioned that, and guess what? That vision came to pass. So what I'm saying, if there's people out there, I can easily say, man, we need to rally and fight for more rights, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, man, because I understand we have to do those things. But what I do want people to understand is there are a lot of underprivileged people, former underprivileged people that are underprivileged. They aren't underprivileged anymore because they decided that they were going to start to pursue things, all right, and make it happen. Let me say this real quick. I got some friends. I'm gonna give him a shout out. He don't even know I'm doing this, but I got a friend named Raymond Bell, and he has this thing called the Hope Project, and he's in the DC, Baltimore, that area. He's working with underprivileged youth in the areas of IT and tech. These kids are getting certified and walking into $150,000, $175,000 a year job. Why? They were exposed to his information.
Right.
And they showed up for classes. Now they're making more money than their mama and daddy, because these jobs are paying big dollars. So the point I'm making is my mission and my hope is to inspire people to get a vision. What is it that you want? And don't look at your circumstances as I'm locked into this forever. Because if I would have thought that, you wouldn't be interviewing me right now.
Right.
But look at and say, what do I want and who do I need to connect with to get there? So what I'm imploring your people to do that listen to this show is not sit back and point fingers, because rightfully we can do that, but say, what do I want? I train a lot of job seekers, man. I get them so fired up, their lives change. They're going after this and going after that. They would have never done that until they shifted their own mindsets through the trainings. So that's the big thing. I think it's mindset. People got to support each other as they're pursuing, not pull each other down. Like if you see somebody in pursuit, support them, encourage them. Because we have so much talent in our communities, loaded with talent. We just got to get it out there and make it happen.
So, so just to go a little bit more in depth with that, when you mentioned mindset,
yeah,
what are some of the things that people can do to help to change that mindset, to improve that thinking, to get that critical thinking really moving, to actually move and to what they say to bob and weave, and make it work the way they need to work? What are some of those things?
Well, man, as a keynote speaker, I'm a storyteller. So, I just told one, I'm about to tell another one. So I met this guy years ago. His name was Jim Murphy in New York City. I was actually flying down to New York City to go to Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. I was 17 years old. I'm first generation college student. And I'm on the plane because my mom worked for the airlines. I fly for free. So I'm flying down. But on the plane, I'm sitting next to this guy, man. He was funny because he actually looked like D from Run DMC. He had the Kango hat and everything. He just had the look. And so he asked me on the plane. He said, man, he was with his mom and his wife and his mother, and his brother was at Syracuse University. So they were actually dropping him off, and they were going back home. And so he asked me, would you like a ride when you get to the airport? And I said, well, sir, because we had a really good conversation. Sir, I don't want to inconvenience you and your family. He said, it won't be an inconvenience. He said, where are you going from here? I said, I'm going over to the Port Authority. And then I got to go to the ferry boat to go over to Staten Island. He said, we can take you to the Port Authority. And that was a long time ago. I tell people I don't recommend you ride anywhere with strangers today. So let's make that clear. But I said, okay. So when the plane landed, we went and grabbed our luggage. I went to grab my luggage, and he looked at me and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm grabbing my luggage. He said, you don't have to grab your luggage. And he snapped his finger. Some dude came over and grabbed my luggage.
Oh, wow.
And he took my luggage out, and this is not making this up. This dude I was sitting next to on the plane that looked like D from Rum DNC had a 8-door stretch Cadillac limousine with his name on the license plates. And I'm like, who in the heck am I sitting next to? Now I'm going somewhere with this story, and I want everybody to hear this. And so we get into the car. He treats me like I'm royalty. We had the greatest conversation. His mom and all of we talking, they encouraging me. And then he said something that changed my life. He said, Darrell, I want you to have this time with me because I want to share something with you. It's a gift. It's a gift. And don't ever forget it. And I have not forgotten, and that was like 40 years ago. He said, Darrell, he said, when I was a kid, I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. Everybody wanted to drop out of school. Everybody wanted to hang out. Everybody wanted to do crazy stuff. And I was right there with them. And then one day I saw a show about the American dream on television, and it changed my life. I said, why can't I live the American dream? So you know what he did? That thing kicked in, and he said to his friends, I want to change. As he said to his friends, I want to change, fellas. Let's go for it. Let's try to make some things happen with our lives. All his friends said, man, get out of here. You a sellout. You this and that. You know what he said? Cool. He cut them all off. He got focused on his education, graduated with honors, received a full scholarship to Yale University. He said, I didn't even know I was smart till I stopped hanging with them folks. Went to Yale, graduated from there with honors. Ended up getting a job on Wall Street, did that for 3 years, and started his own accounting firm. And then start buying real estate in Manhattan. This is what he told me. He said, Darrell, I'm sharing this off with you, not to brag, man, because I don't have to brag. That I don't even have to do it. He said, but Darrell, don't ever forget this. And I don't want your audience to forget what I'm about to say. Show me your friends, and I will show you your future.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
You want to change your mindset? There's the answer. You got to get around people who are going to encourage you to maximize your potential as they are maximizing theirs. So you don't even have to be at the top. You guys are just going to collectively lift each other to the top. Let me say this. My mother, when she landed that job, her best friend went after the same thing and landed the job too. So just two of them, that's all it was, lifted each other out of that pioneer homes into a whole nother space. My friends, a lot of us aren't advancing because of who we hang around. Mm-hmm. And our mindset remains the same because we keep going through this vicious cycle, a loop in our thinking because of what people are saying. And so we got to make adjustments and start associating with people via mentorship, via new friendships, via getting out there and using our gifts in certain ways to help us shift the way we're thinking. I'll say this and I'll be done. There's a good book I recommend. It's called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. In that book, she talks about two things: growth mindset and fixed mindset. And here's what she says. Growth mindset people, sky's the limit, man. Nothing's going to stop them from maximizing their potential. Fixed mindset, blame everything. Is this, is that, I'm here because of this, it's never going to change. And guess what? They stay stuck. So I'm going to digress. There's my answer to your question.
Wow. Now, that's impactful. And I hope that not just myself, but those that are listening actually get that understanding, because as you say that, I will say that there's a lot to that. Mm-hmm. Because, I think when you start to, when you need to do the cutoff, mm-hmm. When you do the cutoff, it seems like you get lighter because you start floating. And so, yep. I mean, that's it may be a metaphor in a lot of ways, but it means a whole lot. That is very purposeful, what you just said.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, my friend. Mm-hmm.
How do you help individuals uncover their gifts and talents?
Yeah. You know that the thing about it is we all have our own unique thing, But let me back up, and I'm gonna answer that question, but I want to talk about empowerment for a moment. So I have a pretty unique definition of empowerment, and I think I kind of alluded to it in the beginning. Empowerment is something some of my consultants friends have stolen. It's act like it's theirs. I said, don't be stealing my stuff. If you do, at least give me credit for it, right? But I said empowerment is taking what's inside of you that you see in a person. Other words, let's say there's this, I'm gonna use an arbitrary name, like a kid named James, all right? Mm-hmm. I see that James can go on and become a CEO of a company. James can go on and he's got people skills galore, but James doesn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So empowerment is taking what you see in a person and getting them to believe it, getting them to own it. So when we coach people, you know what I mean, on purpose, or I coach different people, leadership development, leadership coaching, organizational culture, people who want to even do what I do, because people want to consult and speak and train. All I'm looking for is to try to pull out of them, all right, get them to see the potential, own it, and then say, what's the strategy to move it forward? Now, as far as the specific passions and purpose, there's assessments we use and all that. I'm not going to go into all of that, but I have a couple of what I call the passion pathways that I love to talk about. I'm only going to mention a few. Number one is what I call lifetime infatuation. Charles, it's basically you wake up in the morning and it's right there with you.
Okay.
Some people, yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm ready to hear a little bit more about that lifetime infatuation, because I think I'm loving where you may be going with that.
Listen, lifetime infatuation. Let me give you an example. When Oprah was, they interviewed, I think it was Oprah's mom or somebody like that years ago. And they said, what is it about Oprah? They said, and she said, and the response was, that girl been communicating this kind of stuff all her life. It's like when she was 2, she was doing this kind of stuff. 3, 4, 5, she's always been this way. So, what we see today and what we're all impressed with is just who she is.
Wow.
Nobody had to expose her to it. Nobody had to, hey, you think you should be a talk show host. It was just in her DNA. Rachel Ray, the cook, her parents said when she was 2 and 3 years old, all her little siblings out there playing, she would grab a stool, go to the kitchen, and step up to look what's in the pots.
Wow. Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? Like,
these are
yeah. Nobody said, why were her other family members not interested? But she was.
Right.
I have a cousin named Troy. Man, we out there, we playing hoops and athleting up and trying to be the best athlete in town. Troy over there hanging with the mechanics at the shop. He's 12 years old, 11 years old. He over there, the mechanic. He's looking at engines. He's looking at car parts. I had no interest at all in any of that. And dude, like hanging out there, you see him, he all greased up, hands all oiled up. Before you know it, he's getting paid a couple $100,000 per car to build cars for people.
Wow.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, that's what's up.
Then nobody told him to do that. Right. He was wired for it. So I'm saying to your audience, all of us got this stuff we're wired for. And we're wasting it because nobody has exposed us to the fact you can do something with it. Now, the stories I'm telling you, they figured it out. Mm. Oprah figured it out. And she said, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Talk show host. Wasn't working in Baltimore. Let me go to Chicago. And the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yes,
so that's just one. One other one, real quick. This is gonna be interesting because people don't understand what I mean by this, but it's frustration. All right. And people are like, how do you find your purpose and passion being frustrated? I said, it's easy. It's something that you want to fix. I want to fix the problems in my community.
Right.
I want to fix the way people manage their finances. I want to fix kids doing drugs. I want to fix what's going on with these families' issues. I want to fix broken marriages. I want to fix government. And I'm passionate about it. That's another pathway. Yeah, stuff that gets under you, that shit, I wish I could just do something in that space. Some of us don't even have that interest. You do. You see, wow. So I love having people uncover, man, because there's some more to this. But those are just a few techniques we look at and analyze. to help people get on that course, man. Because if we're gonna spend our dash, let's spend our dash doing something that makes a difference.
So with these individuals, I mean, so is it like just the conversation that you're having to help them to get the light bulb to come on, or is it just things in general that you put out there to see what they actually gravitate to?
No, so it varies on how we do it. Like sometimes we're doing seminars, you know what I mean, with a group of people, like bunch of people. So we're just like you said, we're just educating, and we're giving them, and everything is strategy. It's all strategy, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So that we're educating. Now, when we're coaching an individual, they're literally going through assessments. There's some individual coaching that's going on. We have assignments that they have to do. They got to literally they got to go to work. You know, I'm like, okay, we're going to work on this for the next 2 or 3 months. These are things you got to do, because we got to get people to thinking and working with this stuff, man. Because if you just talk about it, it's just a good idea in your head. You gotta put some stuff in action. So it's more hands-on when we coaching folks. But I was gonna say about the one part with strategy. So motivation. People out there who've heard this term before, we don't really understand what it is. People think it's a motivational speaker, like Les Brown and all of that. In some truth, yeah, Eric Thomas and E.T. and all those people out here doing their thing. Yes, I agree. But what they don't understand is this. There's 2 words woven into motivation: motive and action.
Ooh, okay. Begin again.
A motive, listen, Charles, I'm telling you, man, folks, folks gonna get a lot out of this pot. They've been listening to this thing, man. It's just it's transformative. A motive is an inner state that's driven by a goal. A motive is an inner state that's driven by a goal. Master P used to sell tapes out of his trunk. And then he said, but I'm gonna have $100 million business one day. Motive, inner state. But here's the part that people don't get, and you don't hear a lot on stages. You got the Asian part, and that's action. See, I can feel good about stuff. Oh, this is the greatest speech I ever heard in my life. Oh, my Lord. And then a week later, I'm back to my old habits.
Right.
The action connected to the motive, the goal, is how people achieve things that we all dream of achieving. You gotta realize being fired up is temporary. Being intentional gets you to where you're gonna get to. You ain't gonna get there just being fired up. If that's the case, every Sunday we're gonna be fired up going to church, and then we're gonna go back home. And next Sunday we're gonna get fired up at church. Listen, man, we gotta do something with this stuff. And so, Coach, I want people to know, who's listening to this show here, I'm not just a motivator, man. I'm a strategist. You know what I mean? And I'll give you one quote, and I'll let you jump back into the questions. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You got that one?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, you know, I'm gonna tell you that was I really love that.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little detail into falling to that action?
Come on, man. Listen, I tell you, people, listen, their life's gonna be changed today. See, I'm not here just some dude getting you hyped up. I'm talking about structure and systems. Right. So here we go to another story. I'm gonna explain that quote. So I love listening to people like, one time I was listening to Venus Williams, Williams sister. And they were asking her, man, how are you so successful, and your friends and your sister, and just, because when you succeed, everybody want to know. Oh, she said, it's simple. She said, she said, all my friends are successful. She said, it's just my career is taking me to the path. That's just where I am. Everybody I hang around, business owners and Hollywood celebrities. And so that's kind of what I'm with. And so she said, so we have this thing. Well, we know there's times, very long periods of time, we may not see each other. I may be training for Wimbledon or Australian Open, or somebody may be doing a movie and all of that. And she said, so we know maybe for the next 9 months to a year, we may not even get a phone call in with each other.
Mm.
And she said, you want me to answer that question? Let me tell you what the answer to that question is. We're all successful because we're disciplined. Check out what she said. Brothers, when I heard this, I almost jumped to the roof. She said, discipline is the key to freedom.
Wow. That is more than just powerful. That's real, real, real. And see, a lot of us don't have that discipline.
And that's what we got to get. She said discipline. So when I say we don't fall to the level, rise to the level of our goals, and we fall to the level of our systems, that system is a disciplined, structured way of doing things that is going to produce a long time outcome. I'm gonna tell you something. I get so fired up with this stuff. Let me tell you something. Another one of my mentors said, "You're gonna love this one too." I'm loaded with them, man, because I hang around some folks that don't play. One of my mentors, man, he said it like this. His name is Earl Stafford at Unitech. He sold a company, Unitech, years ago for millions and millions of dollars. He said this, Darrell, don't fall in love with the dream, fall in love with the process.
Mm.
He said it's the process that gets you to the dream.
Yeah.
See, everybody wants to achieve and everybody wants to go after. Man, you got to be willing to make sacrifices every day. And when I coach people, we've turned around so many companies. We've impacted so many school districts because they want me to come in and motivate them. I said, no, we're going to breathe for a minute and we're going to put some systems in place. And every last one of you have to be introspective as to what are you doing to limit progress.
Right.
And this system we're going to talk about is going to get you to be introspective so that you can build a culture that's going to produce an outcome. And if you're not willing to do that, keep your money, I'm going home. Because my thing is this, I don't want to mess with you if you're not serious.
Right.
Especially if there's young people involved or if there's communities involved, things like that. I'd rather not even do it because people don't realize synergy, systems, core value, that's how you transform things, man. When you got people working together to produce an outcome. And so that's why I talk the way I talk. I mean, I've worked with billion-dollar corporations, but I've worked with community centers in our cities. It doesn't matter to me. I just want, especially that's even more important because I want them to be able to transform those young folks in our communities, man. And so systems, man, we got to understand we can't just be hyped up all the time. We love being hyped up as a people. We love it. We love it. We love it. But we don't understand that's not going to get you to where you're going. Let's put it, I'll say this last thing, I'll shut my big old mouth. Motivation is the fuel. Listen to this, brother. Don't ever forget this. Motivation is the fuel, but strategy is the vehicle. That's it, and that's what it takes. That's it. Motivation is the fuel. So if you're out there pursuing your dream, if you're out there trying to transform a community, if you're out there trying to build a business, become a speaker, whatever it is you're trying to do, is be motivated, but put some systems in place to get you to where you're trying to get to and stay with it till you get there. If not, you're not talking about a dream, you're talking about a wish.
We got a lot of those.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So what role does emotional wellness play in your workforce success?
It's a huge part, man. It's a huge part. And I think in our original conversation, I mentioned that I'm a big fan of Dr. Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. And because I think the big thing when you talk about that piece, because we do, as you know, a lot in that space, is that we're hardwired as people to operate emotionally based upon life experiences and a variety of different things. So you probably heard this statement, and many of your audience may have heard the same thing. That's just who they are. You know what I mean? That's just Maggie, or that's just John. You know what I say to people all the time? No, that's not Maggie or John. That's who Maggie or John became.
Okay.
You see, if a person has a negative attitude, That's not who they are. Something caused them to have that negative attitude, you
Mm.
know, operate in that way somewhere in their lives. Now, we may have some type of like driver personality that may make us a little bit more like that because we have the different personality styles, but people can change. And one of the ways we can change is through emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? And and so for the people out there that don't know what that is, just think about IQ. Like if a person has a high IQ, we consider them smart.
Mhm.
If a person has a high EQ, we consider them understanding of interactions with the people that they're around. Companies want that more than they do IQ nowadays. They want you to know how to work with people and engage. And so emotional intelligence is a process in which we have an understanding of what drives, what impulses and drives that we have. But this is the most important part, Charles, the impact that they have on other people.
Right.
So let me say this, there's two parts. One is called self-regulation and one is called self-awareness. Self-awareness is understanding of my moods, my dispositions, but here's the important part, and their impact on other people.
Mhm.
That's self-awareness.
Mhm.
This part here, you'll probably laugh at. Self-regulation is the ability to control the way I respond to a situation by reeling it in. I'm normally the way I'm going to say this, I'm not going to say it this time, I'm going to reel this thing in, and this is what I'm going to say to somebody. Let's talk about it later.
Mm. Wow.
Because I know if I say what I was going to say, I know what the outcome of that's going to be. And great leaders and great people are under control. They don't operate off all these emotions. They operate off of logic. And logical people think things out before they respond to them. Hope you
So
folks hope you folks get that message.
yeah,
Mhm.
so let me just ask you just one other question before I move on to another part of this. But I really want to. I got to follow up on this. When you said the people that's got the negativity that's going
Mhm.
on, and what could I mean, like, in knowing that they may have something that may have forced that, but it
Yeah.
seems like a lot of people are carrying around that negativity all the time. How do
Mhm.
you kind of like help them to rid themselves of that, or to maybe think a little bit broader as to what they are bringing,
Right.
because a lot of people actually look like they're bringing negativity all the time.
Yeah, man. The thing about it is that, and this may sound weird and strange, but the average person that does it don't think they don't. If you to ask them if they're negative, they'll say no.
True, very true.
They don't think that they are. They just think this is who I am. Now you gotta be careful because there's a fine line between negativity and narcissism.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
But the problem now, let's be clear, the narcissist, that's more of a mental health issue.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that person needs to get help
Right.
because they don't, not only do they not know that they're hurting people, they're intentionally doing it they're doing it on a consistent, it's ongoing.
Mhm.
Like they never stop hurting people because in the narcissist's mind, they're right all the time. All right. They ain't never wrong. And there are a whole heap of them out here. So if you got a family member that ain't never wrong or a friend, chances are they dealing with a little narcissism. Like they don't ever want to say they sorry ever, ever. You ain't never said you've been on this planet 90 years. You ain't never said you sorry. You're a narcissist. So, but everybody else, what you got to do is help them to understand that it's going to be very hard for you to accomplish the things you want to accomplish in your life if you're negative. People don't like to help. And I'm saying that this people will laugh when they hear this because it took a mentor to help me with that years ago when I was younger.
Mhm.
Because I was a little bit snippy, man. I mean, that was a byproduct of growing up in the hood in Syracuse. You'd have to be hard, you had to fight all the time, and you had to kind of keep you. So I kind of carried some of that over with me. And he said, Darrell, you got tremendous potential. But you got to help understand the way you respond to people is going to cause them not to want to help you.
Mhm.
Do you want to do something with it? Of course I wanted to. So again, what I love about it, his name is Eugene Lewis. What I love about it, he didn't just say that to me, he coached me because I had to see it from a different perspective. So a lot of those folks out there that's like that, you're only hurting yourself. And you don't realize, and you need to think about trying to change because you're only cutting off your own blessings. People don't want to deal with pessimistic people. Matter of fact, we see them coming, we look the other way. We don't want that, man. Not at all.
I have to raise my hand there. I don't like that. It
Me
makes
either.
me feel some kind of way,
Me
and
too.
it weighs me down and everything else. And you know,
Hmm.
I need to learn how to deal with those people a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just can't deal with that. I really don't like that.
Yeah. I think I'll say this, Charles. I think a lot of times it's scenario based how you deal with it. Because each person,
Mhm.
and I met this guy actually on LinkedIn. He had the most amazing story. It was kind of amazing, so much to the point where I had to reach out to him. And I said, man, I never heard anything like this. So what he was sharing on LinkedIn was that he was, there's this road rage thing that people, man, you be on the road and you do something, folk just rage out on you. And so he had accidentally cut this guy off, man. And the guy, got upset. And so he speeds his car up and pulls up next to him. He hits his horn. He calling them names. He's pointing, giving the middle finger, and it's like harassment. So they come to a stoplight. The guy does it again. This brother rolls his window down and he says this, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." He said, "I did not intend on doing that." And the guy, he didn't pay attention to that. He's still cursing them out, calling them names and everything like that. So light goes on, and they both actually ended up going to the same location.
No.
So they both getting out their cars at the same time, right? But the guy looking at him, he looking like he want to fight him and everything. He tells the guy again, "Man, I am so sorry." Now, he could have got mad, man. Say, yo, man, what you want to do? You seem like you want to do something. Let's get it on here.
Mhm.
But he kept his peace with this guy.
Mhm.
He said, "Man, listen, they both got the car. He looking at them all mean, and he said, 'Cool, man.' He said, 'You got the right to feel whatever you want, but that wasn't intentional,
Mhm.
man.'" And he walked off. He was going to get a cup of coffee. 3 minutes later, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He looked over. It was that guy. And you know what he said to him?
What?
He said, "I'm sorry."
Oh wow.
He said, "Let me say something." He said, "Man," this is what he said to him. "Man, you healed me by the way you treated me. You
Mhm.
could have been mad at me, ready to fight me, and it made me realize how bad I looked."
Mhm.
And he said, "I'm never going to do anything like that again. Thank you." He shook
Wow.
hands and he walked away.
Oh, now that's a good story.
Yeah,
That's
man.
a good story.
Yeah.
But that's hard to believe, especially in today's time.
Yeah.
These road rage people, they following people to their houses.
But but I think this moral of the story is when I was a kid, you used to always hear them say, "Kill them with kindness."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to allow somebody to point in your face and be disrespectful, but what I'm trying to tell people is don't lose your cool.
Mhm.
I mean, do what you got to do. If you got to protect yourself, hey, protect yourself. But just don't let people knock you. This is totally counter what we're talking about. But if you got people that are negative and all that, don't fight negative with negative. It's not even worth it.
Right.
Because ultimately you may be able to help that person change
Mhm.
by your optimism.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's move over to your work as an entrepreneur and your business leadership.
Hmm.
So tell us
Mm.
what inspired you to launch Darrell Andrews LLC and Self Care Empowered.
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur, Charles. I started as a little kid. I used to tell people I was the wealthiest little 12-year-old in the city of Syracuse, man, because I shoveled snow, I cut grass. You know, I've always been an entrepreneur, man. And I think what I did was kind of similar to what Oprah and Rachel Ray did. I took my I took my natural gifting for motivating and inspiring people and turned that into a business. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I was shoveling snow. Now I'm building organizations and coaching individuals and motivating people to maximize their potential. So what inspired me to do it was my natural bent towards entrepreneurism. I've always been one. And so even when I worked in corporation, I worked for a Fortune 500 company by the name of Abbott Laboratories in their medical diagnostics division. I was always one of the top sales reps because I treated my work like a business. I was an entrepreneur working for a Fortune 500 company. So I was always one of the top salespeople. I was, win all kinds of awards. And so what motivated me, I love entrepreneurism. I think it's one of the greatest ways for a person to take what they have inside of them and make a great contribution to society. Be it if you own in a restaurant or, if you own a car dealership or, if you own a corner store, it doesn't matter. It's just phenomenal. So I've always had a bent towards it. And so what I do now, I tell people all the time, I sometimes, man, I can't, it's just unbelievable, man, that folks will bring us in to do the things that we do at state levels, corporate level, schools, school districts, organizations, colleges, campuses. I'm in awe of it, man. And I'm just grateful that as a, small minority owned firm that we get the chance to do the things that we do. And I got a small team of consultants and people that work with me on various projects. But I love this work. Now, the self-care movement was a byproduct of the pandemic because, man, the COVID did a number on people, man. Right now we have a 20% clinically diagnosed depression rate in the United States across the board. With millennials is 35%. The suicide rate in our country is astronomical right now, man. I mean, look at that Dallas Cowboy young man, that multi-million-dollar contract 2 weeks ago just took his own life, man.
Yep.
It's like it's crazy. So I felt like the pandemic we were traumatized, and it caused people to become weak in their, weak in like not just weak in general, but just mentally, all kinds of different things in our thinking. And so I said, let's start talking about self-care because one way to combat that is self-care. I'll say this with a little smile on my face. I moved to Florida 4 years ago, and people are like, "Why you moved to Florida?" I said, "Because they have beaches."
You know what? I grew up on the Gulf Coast there in Alabama.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I was up in the DMV, I was very happy because the water was there and I could get to it.
Yeah.
Being here in Atlanta,
Yeah.
not that case.
Yeah, that more. Yeah.
5 hours to go see the water.
Oh, no, man. The ocean is my happy place. I was just in Daytona Beach for 2 days. I literally go up there and work, and then I go out to the ocean. So what I'm saying is, I have made self-care a priority. And what we train and coach people on, and that's another part of our business within organizational settings, is to create what we call a self-care DNA. Employees need to really be. It's really crazy. People always talk about customer care, but I tell my customers is I said, self-care should be just as important as customer care because you want your people healthy. You know what I mean? And so we train them and we coach them. We put systems into companies and organizations. And it's exciting to see because they actually work together, to help each other and put these systems. But I practice what I preach. I live self-care, man. Taking walks with my little dog, reading books, bike rides. I got a bike. I probably ride about 30, 40 miles a week. Just ride my bike, man. Work out every day. I'm a beast in the gym. Even though as old as I am, I'm in that gym every day, man. I'm working out, spending time with my family. I don't ignore this. And people talk about they don't have time. I said, you better make time because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to even effectively take care of other people? You're going to be burnt out and stressed. And so yeah, man. So that part of our work is called, self-care empowerment. And we're very excited about the potential in that. That's one of our growth areas. And we just want to see as many people own self-care, man, because I'll say it like this. One of our sayings is self-care is a precursor to wellness. You can't get to wellness without self-care. And the more people we can do self-care, the more we're gonna have well people in the workplace and in our communities. So we love the message, man.
So that's a great transition. So can you tell us, how do you balance business growth with mission integrity?
Say that again.
How do you balance business growth with mission integrity?
Yeah. Well, your core values, when integrity is one of your core values, let's say, which it is one of ours, you know, um, you don't just, I guess the best way to say it is you don't just say that that's a core value. You actually take that value and you measure each aspect of how you do business to that value. What happens when companies grow is they start dropping those values. The dollars become more important than the value, but it was the value that got them the dollars, and so they don't realize how much that hurts them. So for us, you know what I mean, we continually analyze our core values and measure when we're on stage or if we're consulting someone or if we're coaching someone to those values. If you're regularly assessing, what you're doing, you will never drop that, man. You never will. What happens is when the rate of growth, I was working with a group out of California that grew so fast, they went from 0 to $5 billion in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
2 years.
Oh,
But guess what? Inner turmoil like crazy. I mean, just straight up chaos. I mean, I never seen anything like it before. I said, y'all got all this money and all this headache at the same time. I got a headache standing there talking to y'all, But we spent 3 days with them down in Dallas, Texas, and we went through a core values integration reassessment, and man, I'll tell you something, things turned around quickly because what I shared with them is you guys don't realize you're running, but you're running because the money is there, but you're not looking at the significance of the key players in this growth process. So people are getting neglected, people are being, it's just about making these dollars. So when they slowed down and reassess their core values, we actually helped them to rewrite their core values. Then they went back and implemented some of the stuff. And now that $5 billion aligned with their company culture. You know what I'm saying? Because, to me, growing without integrity is chaos. Period.
yeah.
You're just going to be a chaotic company with a lot of money or chaotic organization. And it's not just even companies, it's school districts across the board. Once you drop your core values, you just about dropped everything. Yep.
So, what's your philosophy on leading with passion in the private sector?
Yeah. We've just recently redefined leadership, man. And I'm gonna give you that definite, because we have this book. It's actually not completed, but I've been talking about it. We're going to get it done here soon. Post-pandemic leadership, the key to effective recruitment and retention. The old model of leadership, and it's not old, it still applies today, is the ability to guide, govern, and influence. Okay? That's actually not a bad, model of leadership. The new model that we're promoting, it takes a whole lot of emotional intelligence, because this is what we're saying about leadership today. All right, post-pandemic. Leadership is the ability to listen, understand, and engage.
Oh,
I hope leaders out there listening.
mm-hmm.
I got a problem with retention. The reason why you have a problem because you're not listening, you're not understanding, and you're not engaging. People post-pandemic need to know you care about them, man. They need to know you are a priority to them. Them days of just being that hardcore boss and telling people what to do, that's dead on arrival now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Man, you'll lose people so fast.
Yeah.
So you ask me leadership, that's leadership today. You're going to have to be more emotionally connected to leading people today. That doesn't mean you have to sit down with a person and have 10-hour conversations with them. You just need to acknowledge and affirm and let them know you recognize the efforts that you're putting forth, not just like the company goals, like, oh, we did 20 billion. That's not it. You were a significant part of this, and we thank you for your contribution. That's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. You see, now that person feels like what we like to say is welcome, valued, and appreciated. Yeah. And that makes a huge difference. So leadership, again, leaders need to listen now. They need to understand what's going on. People are different. Like when the pandemic, people were hybrid. They were running their kids to sporting events. Now you're saying stop all that. You know, it's kind of hard once you got that train on the tracks. You know what I mean? That's the way we've been doing things for a while. So maybe that leader could be a little bit more flexible with that. Okay, we can't do all the games, but we get, you know, some of them, let's go make it happen. You know, work with them. So that's my answer to that question, man. Yeah.
So, how do you build a team culture rooted in values and wellness?
Yeah. And values and what else?
Value and wellness.
Wellness. Yeah. You know what, man? It goes back to that quote I gave you early in our conversation. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. I'll say this, Charles, man. Anything you don't put a system to is going to fail. Like if we say that we want team synergy, we want wellness. The question is, what are we doing to implement, make those things part of our mode of operations? Besides, let's bring a trainer in for a day to train us. That lasts all of a week. You gotta put systems in place, man. Let me share this about team building, man. I'm giving away some nuggets for the folks today, man. I'm giving some nuggets, bro. Here's another nugget. I love again how words are, connected. So let's talk about team building, okay? Team building. Because everybody in these companies out there, everybody talking about team building. And I said, okay, I asked them, do you really even know what team building is? Or just like, it's a bunch of exercise, you go outside and do trails and all that kind of stuff. That plays a part in it. But I asked them, what is a team? And most people can't really answer the question. I said, okay, that's why it's called study. Let me tell you what a team is. A team, all right, is a collective group of people. It's people coming together. It's a team. That doesn't mean they're doing anything at that point. You know what I mean? It's a collective body of people coming together, a team. Building means to erect something. So where I live in Florida, there's buildings going up all around me. I watch the construction workers, they're putting their time in and all that kind of stuff. So team building is taking a collective body of people and erecting something. And so what I mean by that is we're not just a group of people coming. That's most people in most jobs, just a group of people coming together. They ain't building nothing. They just get mad at each other all the time, arguing on the job, fussing and fighting. We're going to build a team that's going to operate off these 4 or 5 core values. We're going to build a team that's supportive. We're going to build a team where leaders care about the employees. We're going to build a team where employees respect leaders, take care of customers. If you don't build it, it ain't happening. You're just going to have a collective group of people coming together, fussing and fighting over everything.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, working in silos.
So
that's why you got to bring people in that can help with this stuff, because a lot of people don't even know how to do it, man. It's a process.
Let me tell you this, because I thought that, of course I know what a team is, and I call myself actually wanting to build a team, and I know how many people that I wanted on the team. But when I got to that point of wanting to build that team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually noticed some things that, that caused me to say, no, not that person. No, not that person. And so it just got to the point that I just replaced myself with what I wanted, right?
Yeah.
So how do I get out that mindset and actually go back to looking to actually bringing and still implementing those things to make that complete team?
Yeah, team. Yeah, listen, you think about, I think the thing to think about it is, and I think everybody that's a small business owner or whatever capacity you're in, got to realize, the way you advance, the way you take your message out a little bit more to the masses or your services is through a team. Like, you got to have people that's going to be doing things. Like I got consultants, turn them over to projects. I don't even have to, we meet once every 2 weeks. They got this. You know what I mean? Virtual assistant, do this, do that. They got this. And so what I'm saying is, what you got to say is what from a team perspective, what are the critical components of this team that I need in order to advance what I'm doing? And you gotta find the people who got the right personalities, people who have the right work ethic, and people that you can trust.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to bring somebody on your team that you have to constantly do oversight. Now, in the beginning stages, if they're learning, yeah, you do. But at some point, you want to cut them loose and let them go. Whenever I send a coach on a project, I'm not micromanaging them. I vetted these coaches to the maximum, so I know what I got, and so I know they're not going to do anything disrespectful. They're not going to hurt the company's name. They're not going to do any of that. So you find people, like you said, with the values of integrity, but then you find the people that you need to do whatever it is to advance your work.
Right.
Because like, you think about it, some of these companies got millions of people working for them, man. They got people, and that's why they worth $100 billion, because they got so many people doing so many things,
Mhm.
you know. And I think the average small business owner needs to learn that, because we don't want to stay small forever. I mean, maybe make it to mid size, or grow it a little bit, but we need people to do it. So vet the folks. There's good tools out here now to do that. Some good assessments, things like that. But as a leader, you got to know exactly what you want. And here's the last thing, and I'll add to: just don't personalize anything with people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The goal is the task at hand.
Right.
People that work for me, I ain't got to be my best friend. I'm not looking to play golf with everybody. But if they're really good at what they do and we have an amicable relationship, we good. And a respectful one, and in knowing that sometimes I have to pivot as a leader, and they need to be ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, we may sometimes have to make some adjustments to move forward. Just be willing to be flexible. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that hopefully that helps a little
No,
bit.
yeah, it did because I guess you said the one key word, which was trust, because there's a lot that goes into that as well.
Yeah,
So staying small, like we are right now, is
yeah,
okay, but I
right,
still need to add to the team, because I
yeah,
need to kind of like, I can't do 15 things. I
yep.
need some other folk to do some of those things.
And I'm telling you, it's important. It's important. Because, and you think about it, that's how the average major business grows. You keep adding pieces. Like, I see some of these businesses, man, that, 5 years ago, they didn't have anything. Now they, 10, 15, $20 million businesses, because they kept adding pieces.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your speaking, your writing, and your thought leadership. Um,
hmm
can you tell us what's your process for crafting keynotes that move
hmm
people?
Yeah. And this is the area we coach quite a few speakers on, because a lot of times people think speaking is just a gift that you have and you can get up on stage and do whatever you want. That ain't how it works. When people pay you the kind of money they pay us to do these keynotes, man, they want you to come prepared, you know. And so, without giving out all that I do, one part that's really important is what we call a pre-event a questionnaire. I don't go to any audience with a canned speech, because no two audiences are the same. So I want to know, if I'm going to speak for a company or organization, what's their culture like? What's some of their buzzwords? What's the goal of the conference? Who's in attendance? What are 5 things that you want to walk away with? You know what I mean? How will this speech that I'm gonna give help you move the needle? And what I'm giving to people right now is worth the price of admission, because it's a tool that I've used to separate myself from people. A lot of times people just think I got this speech and I can just go on stage and keep doing it for everybody, but that same speech does not relate to every person and every audience. And so you need to know what that audience, and so that's the kind of thing that's got me thousands of keynotes over the years, because I do my homework. And then another thing I tell people you need to do too, I don't care if you did a speech 9,000 times, before you go on that stage, practice it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said, athletes, you mean to tell me $1 million athletes got to practice every day? We don't practice at all. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna get up there and wing it? Come on, could you mean that'd be like LeBron trying to shoot jumpers after not practicing for 2 weeks? It ain't gonna look too good. So if you call yourself a professional, you gotta work at it, man. You can't assume that I'm just gonna get up there and Because if you don't know your audience, like I gotta tell you a funny story, because I've had some horror stories, man. Because like there's times I did my homework, but I didn't do enough. Like I was speaking in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, in front of about 2,000 school administrators. These are people from school, just school superintendent. And so, man, I was excited. I was pumped, and I'm getting up on this stage. I'm about to go in, and I open my mouth and I call Louisville Louisville.
Oh, oh my God.
You can hear a pin drop the entire speech.
Oh,
They did not, man. I'm talking about the entire speech. All my catchphrases, nothing worked. And all I wanted to do was get off that stage, grab my bag, and go home. And that's almost literally what I did. And I talked to the event planner. I said, "What happened to the audience?" I said, "This works everywhere I go." She said, "You're called Louis." She said, "They don't like when you come here and don't know the name of their town." All right. And so this is the funny part. So I was speaking in Des Moines, Iowa a week later. I called them folks up and said, "How you pronounce that?" They said Des Moines, because you look at it as Des Moines.
Yes.
Yes. I said, I ain't gonna get up on the stage and make that mistake again. So the point being, do your homework. Yeah. Know your audiences, because I'll be honest with you, man, there's a fine line. Little things can throw people off in an audience. It don't take much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk politics. I don't talk, none of that stuff. I don't talk anything, because I'm there to talk about what they want me to speak on. And then when you start adding all of that, I don't curse. That's not in my book. I don't do that. Just things I don't do. I'm going to, I hear some speakers do. They drop F-bombs all throughout their presentations. That's just not who I am. You know what I mean? I don't want that to be, that's not how I do it. So we prepare, and then, each speech is customized. I'm not going to say we rewrite every speech. We just customize it to the needs of that customer. And it goes well, man. We get, I'm be doing one in two days over in New Orleans, so it's a blessing to be able to do this, man.
So who do you tailor your message for? How do you tailor that message for the different audiences? I know you say you don't actually redo the whole thing, but just when you find out, I guess, about the audience, how do you decide how you're going to tailor that message?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the needs of the audience. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there may be specific things that are taking place, like this is our 100th year, or something like that, or if things like that. So you find that that's going to really be the big thing for this audience. That may not have been a big thing for the last audience, but it's for this audience. So tailoring it is really knowing what's going on in that space. Like, it could be a variety of different things, and so what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I'm not going to go up and do this cookie cutter. I'm going to find out what's going on. What are some specific things that may be taking place in this different organization or this school and school district? They may have, like, let's say we're speaking of a school district. They may have just been recognized by the U.S. Department of Education as one of the top 100 schools or something like that. That becomes a part of the conversation. Teacher may have won the National Teacher of the Year award. That becomes, you know what I mean? Like, but you don't know any of that if you don't do your homework. That's what I'm saying. You got to do your homework. And then what you do is you customize it specifically to that audience. And then also the dynamics of each area is different. So what's important, what's significant into this community, like if I speak to a school, it's a bunch primarily at-risk youth, there may be some things that they need to hear that's different than the school, because I presented all these kind of schools. They got kids that families' median income is 1.5 million. I've been to those kind of schools too. Right. But they have different challenges in that school. Even though they're wealthy, they have respect issues and all kinds of different things. You know what I mean? So it's like you realize, okay, that's the need for that particular school. I'm just using schools as an example now. So that's how you do it. You find out what's the dynamics. What are their specific needs, and then you cater your presentations, and then you get up on stage and practice that thing a bunch of times before you get up there and give it all you got. Now, keep in mind, we don't just do speeches; we do trainings too. So the same thing applies to trainings too.
So, what inspired your book, Post-Pandemic Leadership?
And something I mentioned a little earlier was the pandemic, man. Well, I actually mentioned that for the self-care movement. that book was a byproduct of the pandemic as well, as we know by the name of it. And I just feel like leaders, there was a big issue probably about a year and a half ago. You should hear everyone talking about what's called recruitment and retention. They were having a hard time retaining people, you know. And so I said we need to write this book because again, these leaders are still trying to lead like it was pre-pandemic, and it's post-pandemic. And so we got to help equip them with these skills, like I said, the ability to listen, understand, and engage, to be able to increase their retention. So that was the big thing about that, because it was people were losing people like crazy about 2 or 3 years. It was about 2 years ago. But now folks are doing better because they're not just because of us, because people are starting to realize people are different now. You know what I mean? And leaders need to understand that. So that was kind of the motivation behind it. Yeah.
When we spoke about Black History, because we do Black History 365, and I asked you who was the most influential person in your life and career, and you told me it was your mother.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why is your mother the most influential person in your life and career?
Yeah, because she shaped me into the man I am right now. We lost her 3 years ago to diabetes and dementia. And, I'm going to say this to mothers out there. I'm going to speak specifically to the mothers, especially if you're a single mom, but you don't have to be a single mom. And this is going to be different, and I hope people get what I'm saying. Oftentimes, the strength of a man is directly connected to the love of a mother. When you love a young man in his formidable years, I'm saying you could be disciplinary and all that kind of stuff, but you're shaping him to become a man that is not dealing with challenge, trauma, and dealing with, you know what I mean? Like I've seen some ladies raise their voice to their kids a lot, and I tell them you're traumatizing that child. That child, you're shaping that child's DNA by the way you communicate to him. Charles, my mother never raised her voice at me. Ever. You know what I mean? She got upset, but she never raised her voice. And I could never understand that. I said, what in the world? When I got older, I said, Mom, you're the most calm. And you know what she said? I knew that you were going to grow up to become a man, and a man of purpose. And I did not want my voice to stifle that. I know as a mother, I had the ability to really tear you down internally if I. So she said, when I would have problems, you boys wouldn't see it. I go in my room or somewhere else because I wanted you to grow up to be strong men. And I knew as a single mom, that was my task. So she talked to us about purpose. She talked to us about careers. She talked to us about, I played sports. She was at every sporting event. She when I had a girlfriend, she got to know my girlfriend. She became good friends with her. They were like best friends almost. My friends, man, she would pack all my friends in the car, and we would go after football practice. She'd drive them all home, drop them all. She just was an amazing human being, man. And I'm grateful to this day for her because I know I'm the man I am because of her. If it wasn't for her unconditional love for me, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing today. And so I can't think of, there's other people in my life. I can go a long time going down a list of other people who influenced me. But that mother of mine was a gift from God. And I'm grateful.
So what values did she instill that continue to guide your leadership?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I jokingly told you a little earlier when she said, boy, one day you're going to use that mouth to make a difference. I think she saw something. She saw something to me at a young age. She didn't want to squash that, man. So I think she instilled that value of self-determination, you know what I mean? Overcoming obstacles and respect for others. I got one more quick funny story, and I know we're getting probably close to that time, but this is a mother's story. So I was invited to my hometown. This is like everybody's dream. Whenever your hometown invites you back, you just hit the speaking jackpot, man, because it's like, this was a big speaking event. It was held in what we call the On Center in Syracuse. There were about 3,000 people there. And they wanted me to come back and speak to my city, man. And I was in tears almost because of that. Because I left home with a dream and I didn't know this would ever happen. And so my mom was there at the event. And so gave her flowers and kudos and everything up in front and everything. She just was smiling the whole time. And then did my speech and concluded it. got the craziest standing ovation I ever got in my entire life. I was just so honored being in my hometown. Walked off the stage. The mayor was standing there, president of Syracuse University. All these folks want to talk. I said, "Can I speak to y'all in just a moment? I gotta go see my mom." And I walked over to my mom, and she crying. She's got tears coming down her eyes. And I gave her a hug, and that's, we had a fun relationship. I'm like, what you laugh? What you crying about? Just joking with her. And she said, "Come here, baby." She hugs me, and she says this: "Remember when I said one day you're gonna use that mouth to make a difference?" Check this, what she said. 3,000 people now know what I knew when you were 2 years old.
That's interesting. That's prophetic as well.
Yeah. That's why she was the most influential person. She groomed that gift, man. She didn't kill it. She groomed it. And I'm forever grateful, because I know without it, I wouldn't be here today.
So, how did her example shape your understanding of Black excellence?
Because she was a Black mama raising Black boys. Black mama raising Black boys. But what she understood, but what she did, going back to school and all that, she showed me there's another way. That we can take our gifts, talents, and abilities to the marketplace. We don't have to accept the fate of our situation that we were in. And to be proud as a Black man. She used to say that all the time. Don't let anybody steal from you, the dignity of who you are.
Yeah.
And those words resonate with me today. That woman helped me to understand so much, man. And even to the way I raise my kids, man. I show my kids a lot of love, man. I do. I'm a very compassionate father. I hug them all the time, let them know I love them. I don't do the tough dad thing. It ain't in me, man. That ain't the way I'm raising my kids.
Right.
And that's a byproduct of how I was loved. You know what I mean? And what was given to me. I think sometimes we give out what we were given. I mean, not always, but sometimes we do. And I'm grateful that I was given the opportunity to have a mother that showed love, and a grandmother who did, and two grandmothers, and family members who did as well. So my mom was something special, man. And brother, I wouldn't even be here today if it wasn't for her. She helped shape me into the man I am today.
What does honoring her legacy look like in your daily work?
I talk about her every time I speak.
Really?
Every single time I stand on that stage, she comes up in my conversation. Yeah, she and my grandmother Adele. I have this little sticker. I want to show you this. My grandmother Adele was the other one. All right, she's from the Bahamas. And what I'm about to show you, 300,000 people have gotten these all over the country. It's this little sticker. On this sticker, my grandmother's from the Bahamas. And she used to always, my son's the artist, he drew this. This is a picture of my grandmother when she was a little younger. And my grandmother used to always say to me, every day, all the time, "It's gonna be all right, baby." That was her statement all the time. So I said, that's such a powerful statement. I'm gonna create stickers and give them out to my audiences. So far, about 300,000 people got these things. So my grandmother is all over the world now.
So how do you connect her wisdom to your professional work?
Yeah, it goes back to the things we've already talked about multiple times, and that's just operating in integrity, man. Operating in love and operating in compassion. What's really great, man, and it brings a smile to my face when you can say this. Many of my customers are my dear friends now. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just customers anymore. They're like family, man. And I know a lot of that is really a byproduct of how I was raised and where I was taught to treat people and things like that. And so, I can run off a name of 10 names right now of people that know my kids. I know their kids. I know their life. They know my life. You know what I mean? I know their challenges. They know my challenge, but they're customers. You know what I mean? And you don't build that kind of relationship with customers unless you're operating in high levels of integrity, high levels of respect, and committed to your work. So I think that being raised by these kind of people makes it easy for me to um, parlay that over into the way I interact with my customers. And as a result, we built some phenomenal relationships, not just how people solve solutions and problems, but great relationships. Hmm.
So, what does Black history mean to you personally?
You know, I'll say this, man. We are writing, and I want so many of our young people to understand this because there's so many that's succeeding today, and I think they may be forgetting, but we're writing on the shoulders of giants who carved the way for us to be where we are today. If it wasn't for their commitment, water hosing, lashes that they took on their backs, imprisonment, and bullets, we wouldn't be here today. So, as challenging as time as we live in today, my grandmother was the help. She took the bus to the suburbs to take care of a Caucasian family's two kids all day long, clean for them, cook for them, things like that, and did it with a smile on her face as she came back home on the bus later on in the evening. I'm on jets flying to Fortune 500 companies. She paved the way for me. My other grandmother was a dishwasher. She became a shop steward, so she had a little influence in the Veterans Administration. Well known throughout my town and well respected, but was born during the Great Depression. Her mother passed when she was 26. Her mother was 26, and she had 5 kids. And my grandmother was the oldest at 9. And so when her mother passed, her father was an alcoholic. My grandmother had to start raising her siblings at 9 years old
Wow.
and work like I'd never seen anybody work before. She was the hardest working woman I ever met, man. But she taught me work ethic, man. She worked 3 jobs. She taught me, don't take anything personal. Do what you got to do. She's Black history to me, bro. You know what I mean? So I'm not talking just Black history from the Martin Luther King and all those folks. We love them and thank God for them. But some Black history right in our own neighborhoods, brother, right in our own families.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we're riding on their shoulders. So
Um,
that's what I would add. That would be my answer.
final question for you. If your mother were watching this episode, what would you want her to hear?
I want her to hear that the work she put into raising me to become her son has impacted people all over the world, literally all over the world. That mother who was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, moved to Syracuse with her mom, um, 2 boys at a young age, raised us up to be men, you know, has a son that has 9 books, has presented thousands of companies, has transformed the lives of countless young people, all because of the way she raised me. And I'm forever grateful. She told me when you get married, you love your wife and you stay with her. If you have challenges, you work through it because your children need their daddy. I listen to her. Now my wife and I just hit 31 years. It'll be 32 years next year. You know, marriage is work like everything else, but you know what? It's worth it.
Yeah.
For the sake of your family. And that's not discounting anybody that may have gotten divorced. Hey, people got to do what they got to do. That ain't. But I'm just saying those are values that my mother put in me.
Mhm.
And I just want to say to her, thank you for raising us the way you raised us so I can have the kind of mindset and the determination and love and compassion that I have in my own life. And I think I had the greatest mother in the world.
So, in closing, do you have any words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience?
Yeah.
Tell them how they can connect with you on social media. Tell them
Okay.
about your websites,
Yep.
your services, all of that good stuff.
I'm going to leave him with a quote, and then I'll give him that as well. One of my mentors, many you've heard me mention, is Miles Monroe, and he's an author of like 90 books. So I got more. I got work to do. And we lost him 10 years ago, unfortunately, to a plane crash. He was a well-known minister out of the Bahamas, but he was a leadership development person too. So he spoke to companies and organizations all over the world. But he had this quote that he heard shared, and you probably have heard this quote because this quote has been shared quite a bit. And the quote basically says this: "The greatest deposits on the planet are not found in the oil wells of Saudi Arabia or the diamond mines of South Africa." He said, "The greatest deposits on the planet are found in your local cemetery. In there, you have books that were never written, songs that were never sung, artwork that never made it off the mind of the originator." He said, "In the graveyard, you have potential that remained potential." My friends, I would leave you with this. Don't contribute to that scenario. Don't take your gift with you. Deposit your gift on this earth. Get out there and make some things happen. Connect with the right people. Volunteer your time. Find mentors. Do whatever it takes. Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. Find yourself 2 or 3 good friends that will run with you instead of run against you. Because we need your gift out here. All right? We need it. And I think the more of us that contribute that gift to society, the better our societies will be, better our communities will become. We need you out here. I feel like I'm needed. I feel like I'm relevant. I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. And I wake up every day with a sense of urgency to do it. And I want to see as many people do this to maximize their potential as possible. With that in mind, I'm doing a few things. One, follow me on, I'm starting a thing called the 100,000 Motivators Initiative. And so I want to tell you to go to a website called, all right, the motivatorsmovement.com. Motivatorsmovement.com. All right. And because we're going to be empowering people to take their gifts and motivation on I want to take this on a mass scale. I do. I want 100,000 folks to be able to take what they have inside of them and contribute it to society. Be it if you're in a company, organization, or in a community or a parent, it doesn't matter who you are. We're going to be spending a tremendous amount of time in training people on how to use their gifts to make a difference on the planet. So take a look at that, motivatorsmovement.com. My primary website is coachdspeaks.com. coachdspeaks.com. And that's where you'll find all of our training and coaching and services, coachdspeaks.com. And its website's been around for a long time. It's loaded with good information. And you know, and I would encourage you to go take a look at that if you're interested in some of those services. Follow us on Instagram, Darrell Coach D Andrews on Instagram. If you're a LinkedIn guy, that's how we met. You know, Coach D Speaks on LinkedIn. I'm very, as you know, very active on LinkedIn. It's a great tool for professional connections. That's how we connected, and which I'm grateful. Thank you, man. I appreciate that connection. And so those are just some different ways to connect with me. You know, again, Instagram, Darrell Coach D Andrews, the Motivators Movement.com, CoachDSpeaks.com, and Coach D Speaks on LinkedIn.
Well, I want to thank you for spending this wonderful Saturday with us.
Yeah.
This was a great show. I definitely appreciate the words of wisdom as you did this interview, because it was more than inspiring. It was motivating, and there were several messages to get from this.
Yeah.
I will tell you this though, however, I was not able to ask all of the questions that I had for you. But I gotta tell you, the conversation was definitely something to have, and I
Yeah.
really do appreciate it more
Yeah.
than you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, it's my honor, man, to be here, and just keep doing what you're doing. And you know, like I said, man, we need all of us out there using our gifts collectively to make a difference. And you're definitely doing your part, so we appreciate it.
I appreciate that, and hopefully we can have you back.
I would love to. Yep.
And for all of you guys that are out there watching on all of our channels, for those of you especially on the YouTube channels. If you have not yet supported us by lending us your support by subscribing and enabling all notifications, I would definitely appreciate it if you guys would take the time to do that. Also, if you would take the time as well, we would like for you guys to join our community as well as subscribe to our monthly magazines, because there are things in both places that would be beneficial for each and every individual. I want to thank you again, Coach D. I want to thank everybody that participated and watched today. And we will see you guys Monday on American Black and White, where we will continue the color conversations on the canvas of America. You guys have a great weekend.